Hello, and welcome to Groundhoppers Guide number 4. I may have just punched the table as I said that. We've had a bit of a spell of not being able to record because I've just been at the football so much. So we last recorded sort of towards the end of August, and since then I think I've been to 12 grounds. Mike's been to 4.
4, yeah.
So I have gone flying past him on the ground number. I'm now up to 31.
I'm on 25.
Mike's on 25. So he will catch me up again because I don't really go to a lot in the winter because of work and stuff. So the numbers have gone up. We're going to start by talking about Mike's first game that he went to after we last recorded, which was back in the end of August. We're going to skip. I actually did one that we're going to skip over, which is Castlecroft, which is the home of AFC Wolfrunians. I went to watch Wolves women play, but
yeah, there you go. So casting my mind way back to the end of August, I went to National League game. I went to Wealdstone in a game against Southend United, the big boys of the conference, allegedly. That was me and me. Oh God! Immediately slagging off Southend. I got to see Welshie. He came out with me, a friend of the show. It was quite a nice and easy one for me because it's only down to Stanmore and then Jubilee line and then out towards Ruislip.
I am envious of how many grounds you can easily get to because of the tube and stuff through London. Whereas, like, you live in the Midlands and it's if you haven't got a car, you're kind of boned for a lot of them. Yeah,
definitely. And like on the way between sort of Stanmore and Wealdstone, there's you go past Harrow, you go past Barnet, you go past Wembley Stadium, obviously, and all sort of lots of smaller ones. You go past places like Hendon, sort of on the train. So there's a lot of ones you can do very, very easily in that part of London. Wealdstone and Barnet are in the same league this year, which is, I think, not happened for a while, considering Wealdstone's been in the Southern League for a while. Wealdstone is a kind of a bit of a wasn't the most exciting of grounds, to be honest. I wasn't that happy to have. It was the first conference national game I'd seen since Luton versus Forest Green Rovers back in 2015, which is both teams have gone on since then. But seeing National League football again was a bit of a shock, considering I'd kind of been blessed by League One championships or level football for a while. It was a boring 0-0. Don't really have very much to say about the game itself.
I was thinking like we're doing really well. We haven't had any 0-0s, and then the women's game I went to was 0-0, and the next day you had a 0-0 as well, and it was just like cursed.
0-0. The only positives, Phil Brown. I saw him, and everyone was shouting at Phil Brown, which is kind of funny because it's Phil Brown. As we was walking out behind the Wealdstone Raider, the world famous. So 2 non-league celebrities there. But apart from that, not really much to say about Wealdstone. But it was a good one to tick off, and I don't really need to do it again unless there was a particularly exciting FA Cup tie or something like that. I'd maybe go, but apart from that, but nice and easy to get to if you're in London.
The day after, I went to see Forest Green play because they were playing in the EFL Trophy. If you're a groundhopper looking to tick off lower league grounds, the EFL Trophy is a gold mine. The tickets are dirt cheap because they can't sell them.
Go to
them. But the games generally seem to be quite fun because you have to win. So because it's of the league format,
the league thing, yeah.
If you draw, it goes straight to penalties. So we got to see ourselves a little penalty shootout at Forest Green. So that was fun. The Forest Green is in Nailsworth, which is in the middle of nowhere in Gloucestershire.
It literally is.
It's in the middle of nowhere. If I was trying to get there by public transport, I figured this out. I'd basically have to get to Stroud and then get a bus. So we drove because no, I'm not doing that. Also, I couldn't have got home. So Maria drove it. We went down the scenic route to get to the ground, and literally
it's all scenic around there, though.
Yeah, but you can go on the main roads and basically drive into the ground that way, or you can go the back way, which is literally, it's like a single lane. There's only one car going down it, and we got stuck behind a truck that basically parked to reverse into someone's driveway, and you couldn't get past it because it was just like a single lane. And as we're going along, I'm going like, how far along are we going to go before we get to the, like a double lane or something? Like, is this going to be like a tiny little country lane? For how long are we on this? And literally, we got off this little country lane, and while we were still on the country lane, you could see the floodlights. And then it pulls out at an island right next to the ground, and it's like, oh, we're here. So it's literally, you go from tiny little one-lane country road to the ground. They are building a new one.
A new ground?
Forest Green. The Ecotricity Arena, or whatever it's called, is going to be made of wood, and is going to be like renewable.
So is this going to be
green.
In Nailsworth, or is it going to be somewhere more in the society?
It's not far away from where it currently is, was how I read it. But I read it in August, so I have now forgotten because it was 2 months ago. But yeah, they are building a new ground, which is probably for the best, because the current one is tiny and it's not really suitable for League Two, let alone League One, which is where they might end up next season because they're currently top of League Two.
Is it Dale Vince in charge of?
Dale Vince,
yeah,
and his vegan-powered club. So there's two other things I have to say about Forest Green. One is I could see sheep grazing while the game was going on, which I always feel is quite a nice rural vibe. I got that at Alvechurch as well, so it was kind of fun to get that at a league ground. And the other thing was the food is terrible.
Well, that's interesting because so many people they put over the food at Forest Green. It's like, oh, it's really great, the vegan food, and it's like, is it good for vegan food or is it actually good?
I just thought it was really bad. Exceptionally bad. I don't know. We put vegan mayonnaise on our chips, which is probably a mistake. Vegan mayonnaise tastes awful.
Because if you can do chips badly, that's not a good.
Yeah, I didn't have a good time food wise there. Which I'm going to seg into the next ground where the food was great, which was Plough Lane, where we went to AFC Wimbledon, the Phoenix club that isn't the Wimbledon that won the FA Cup. So Welshie, friend of the show, he got tickets to go and see Wimbledon, and he was like, "Do you want to come?" I'm like, "Okay." So yeah, drove down to London. Which I thought was insane, but my wife's like, "No, I'll drive it. It'll be fine." And so if you're going to drive to London, I've got a top tip for you.
Don't.
Based on our M25 experience, yeah, I'd probably go along with that. But if you are going to go, parking is surprisingly easy if you use the website that allows you to park on people's drives.
Okay.
Because it cost us I think it was £8 to park on someone's drive for the day, whereas trying to find a parking space in any part of London is not fun. I was going to get us to park at Sainsbury's, and it would have cost £40 I think for the afternoon. So that was significantly cheap. My
top tip always for driving to London, if you do, is to drive to Stanmore and then get the Jubilee line into the centre. It's about £6, and then the tube. It's the best place, and there's always space for it. So. Yeah,
that was what I suggested to Maria, but she didn't want to do that. So
to be fair,
she was driving somewhere.
Stanmore to Wimbledon's a long way as well. To be fair. So.
But yeah, Wimbledon, AFC Wimbledon. I love the ground. They basically rebuilt Plough Lane. It looks exactly like one of the grounds that you get on Football Manager.
Yes, the generic stadium, isn't it?
The generic stadium with like the tower blocks poking over the side of the ground. So I'm there just geeking out, thinking it's like being at a football manager game. So that was fun. The crowd was absolutely superb. They were at it all game. I loved the Womble, Hayden, who's the mascot. He's the best mascot I've seen so far, hands down. He dragged a bin out in the second half and he's banging on the top of it to get the crowd going. Like you don't see mascots doing that.
He's making the use of things that he finds.
That's the things everyday folk leave behind. That's what he was on to. So yeah, fair play to him. Great mascot. The food was good. The view was fantastic. It was just a great match day experience, and it's one of my favourite grounds so far, Plough Lane. After that, I went to Townsend Meadow, home of Racing Club Warwick. That's a dump. There are some really nice pubs nearby, so I had some really good beer, and then I had to watch Racing Club Warwick play, which was less fun.
The review is Warwick is nice, the club isn't.
Yeah, Warwick's lovely. Warwick has got some really nice boozers in it, like proper, like snug little boozers. So I loved going there for a few pints. I wouldn't recommend going to see the football team. After that, the day after that, I went to watch Wales play their World Cup qualifier. Who did they play? Estonia. And that was another 0-0. But I did get to check out the Cardiff City Stadium. I went with Wabs and his girlfriend Alex, the Canadian.
That was her first soccer game, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first game that she'd been to see. So it was really weird because like none of us were Welsh, but we're all three different nationalities because Wabs is Scottish and Alex is Canadian. So we're all just sat there with different nationalities cheering on Wales. So it was a fun experience. They're a good crowd, the Welsh lads. Shame they didn't win. They should have done. It's only Estonia. Got to see Gareth Bale complaining to the referee, though, which, if you ever get to see Gareth Bale, the man is a world-class whinger. Like, not only is he a really good footballer, he is a world-class complainer. I've never seen anything like it. If you go and watch him, just keep your eyes on him when a decision goes against him. It's amazing. So that brings us up to the 11th of September, which is when Mike came to see me.
Which we'll never forget.
And we went to go and watch some football. So we went to the Bescot.
Cracking. Loved it. Loved Walsall. So it was my turn. It was Arn's turn to have custody of me instead of the other way around. So heading up to Walsall, nice little drive up to the Midlands in general, and we got the train over to Walsall. Always good when in my eyes at least, it's always good when a ground has its own train station named after itself, which is so like the Bescot Stadium. Yeah,
when we get off the train, you can actually see the ground. It's that close, which is great.
Yeah, great stuff. We went to, where did we go to? We had a bit of a walk around Walsall because there wasn't really any pubs at the ground.
Oh yeah, we went to Champy's.
So we went to Champy's, which was a pub that was based out of was an Indian restaurant.
Yeah, so it used to be the Bradford Arms, and it got bought by an Indian restaurateur who turned it into like a restaurant, but like it's still a bar in the front.
It was great.
So it was like walking into a pub that was really clean, which it's a weird experience.
It's my favourite boozer of the season so far.
Oh,
I think it's taken an early lead for me, at least. Anyway,
it was a bit of a stroll. It was about a mile away from the ground, but then we had a lot of time to kill.
And I got introduced to mild, which was very exciting. So we got into the Bescot. Kind of a bit of a. It's kind of three low stands and a really really tall one. They've got
a big home end.
Big home end, yeah. And
Let me just pop that up on the screen.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's
the home serve ground stand, which was kind of nice to sort of look at it. Really, I think if I was sat in that one, I would have been a bit disappointed by the rest of the ground because it's a bit plain, but it's kind of cool to have that. But yeah, I really loved Walsall. The crowd was really active. The Mansfield support was really good as well. For a club that kind of
that's the Mansfield lads letting off a smoke bomb.
Yeah, for a team that was completely played off the park, they were very upbeat, which I always respect.
It's very weird. They had like kids running around with their shirts off, waving them around their heads, and they got.
There must have been like 11. Yeah. We was right behind the technical area, as they would call it. So and kind of two celebrity, I think, managers really. We had Mattie Taylor, formerly of Luton, West Ham, Portsmouth, all these other teams. I think it's his first managerial job. Walsall, doing a good job there as well, by all accounts. So I got to see him. I was quite happy to see him. And directly in front of us was the world's angriest and also world's shortest man, Nigel Clough.
Nigel Clough.
With his little shorts and his little booties. And he has to stand up. He has to go on his tippy toes every time he shouts at his players. Yeah, that especially. So yeah, kind of getting to like listen to the managers shout and scream is really fun.
I always, when I went to Bromsgrove Rovers, I always used to stand like basically where we were, but like closer. So anytime you got a rival manager that was giving it the gob, you could always just kind of lay into him. Martin O'Neill was my favourite.
Well, would have at Wickham, wouldn't he?
Well, Wickham, yeah. I used to love abusing Martin O'Neill. Yeah, if we got Cloughie Jr. at the Rovers, I'd have given him some shit. He'd have deserved it as well. He really is a knob.
Definitely. And he's still
for Nigel Clough to find this and be posting comments down below. I am not.
Yeah, he's he won't
be able to reach the keyboard.
He's not won a game since mid-August. So, and he's still in the job. I can only
assume they can't afford to sack him.
To get rid of him. Yeah, I would have got rid of him in September, to be honest. But it's I'd
have got rid of him in August.
Yeah, so I just wouldn't have hired him. So yeah, it was. But the game, I think there was a brilliant performance from, was it George Miller?
It was George Miller. He was brilliant.
He's going in my team of the season, I think, so far.
Who was he on loan from? He was on loan from.
He's on loan from Barnsley, I believe. Yeah, I think it's Barnsley he's on loan from, which gives me hope that Luton might sign him because we always sign players from Barnsley. But way too good for League Two as a player. Really confident going forward. The sort of player he could play for a upper League One team like easily, no problem at all. And he was just a different club.
Way too good to be in that league.
Good. I mean, Walsall's got a bit of a place in my heart because obviously they sold Elijah Adebayo, who's Luton's star boy at the moment. They sold him, and I think he's a good replacement. Sort of a bit of a like-for-like player, actually, in a way. Quite similar sort of styles. So, cracking performance. I think it was 3-1 in the end.
3-1 to the Walsall boys, yeah. They probably should have won by more. I felt like they kind of went to sleep a bit. It was really nice to see friend of the show, James, in the Walsall home end. He's the lad that when Walsall score, he chucks shredded newspaper up in the air. Apparently the cleaners don't like him much, but it's a lovely boy.
Have you found out why? Is it just what's done? It's what's done.
It's just the way of things in Walsall. So
yeah, it's dead funny. But
I forgot to go and check because he said, "I'll watch out for where the newspaper goes up in the air."
I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it on the third goal when I remembered to go to look over there, and just the newspaper just kind of up in the air, just kind of floating down around him was beautiful.
If you're about 3 rows in front, you must get like,
I'd be this guy again.
So yeah, that was Walsall. I highly recommend Walsall if you in the area.
Yeah, it wasn't even that full.
No, but yeah, it felt like a really nice club, and I feel like I would go back for sure.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
It's easy to get to. There's not much around it, but
yeah, you're 20 minutes from, is it New Street? In Birmingham?
It probably wasn't even that. It was very close to Birmingham, so it's real easy to get to, real central. Yeah. And good atmosphere. The one thing, our Walsall tip, other than if you're driving, you should probably park at Morrison's. Our Walsall tip is that get food from the outside and don't listen to the vendor when they say that pies are on sale inside, because there is no food inside.
There is no food inside, but they do let you out to go and get food. So yeah. They said that they were off selling pies inside, but then they were the pies inside, and there was no pies. So
yeah, there was no food inside at all.
They had burgers, they had chips, they had other things, but they didn't have pies. And I was desperate for a pie at that point because I hadn't had a pie at the football since 2019. So at that point, I was desperate. But yeah,
your quest for a pie was like an ongoing theme.
It was an ongoing thing, yeah, because there was nothing in pre-season. I didn't get one at Luton, first game of the season. So,
see, I'd already had a pie because I had a pie at Port Vale.
Yeah,
so I'd already got my pie in. It wasn't great, but the girl that served me called me Shug, so that kind of made up for it. Shug, yeah.
Okay. Yes, and then after that we went into Birmingham for the evening, which was good. And we saw a fight between Millwall and West Brom.
Yeah.
A proper punch up.
A bit of football hooliganism. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was nice from a distance, but also...
I like that because I said to you, there's no way that they'll be in this first pub that we go to because they won't be able to find it. So we kind of snuck off to the post office vaults, and it was very quiet.
The evening progressed from there, but yeah, so got to see a bit of the ugly side of football.
In Birmingham, what a surprise!
In Birmingham.
Yeah. And then next day, Mike stayed over up in the Midlands, and we went to watch Nottingham Forest play Cardiff, which was like a live on TV game. So it kicked off at say 1 o'clock or something. It was an early kickoff. Wasn't
1 o'clock on a Sunday. So
yeah. That was a nice leisurely move up there.
Yeah, took the car up to Forest. We parked at it was about an hour, wasn't it? Drive from.
Yeah, that was a surprising amount of parking. Around the ground.
So we ended up parking at Meadow Lane, which is home to Notts County. Basically across the road from Meadow Lane, at an office shop or something like that. It was a £5 to park, so I would say definitely go park over at Notts County if you're going to Forest. So we got to have a look at Meadow Lane. I actually really liked the look of it, but we're not here to talk about them because we didn't see them. So, it's definitely something to go for in the future.
Yeah, Meadow Lane looked a little bit decrepit because the upkeep on a stadium of that size must be enormous, and they're non-league,
especially as they're not in League One, League Two anymore. So, like, the National League is a bit of a you kind of do sometimes die in the National League, which is a shame. Which is why it's so important to get out of it. Really,
it's hard going though. It really is.
It's the hardest league in the world.
You get a lot of big clubs going down and not coming back, and not only are you competing against these other big clubs, so like Notts County are in there with like
Southend and
there's always a money back there. But there's also I was going to say that there's also teams that have a lot of financial backing from millionaires who want like their toy in the football league, Dale Vince, and those are the teams that are getting promoted. So there's a load of big teams in the National League.
Yeah, I mean, like in the period we was down, Luton was down there. You had Crawley Town. You had Fleetwood, which was another Moneybags team. Nowadays, you've got Fylde, I think, down there, which is a bit of
Fylde are trash. I think they got relegated, so they're not in the National League.
Halifax, I believe, were a bit of a Moneybags team. No, not Halifax. Halifax, I think, are. Harrogate, I think, were quite well off. But then, I mean, that's on top of people like, Southend and all them other teams. Wrexham, arguably really is a money bags team now with the
Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhaney have bought it. So I do want to get to Wrexham at some point this season. So we'll talk about that then.
Yeah, but anyway, Notts Forest,
Nottingham
Forest, not Notts Forest. That's apparently scandalous to say that.
Isn't they used to say that all the time? I used to have,
somebody I went to school with used to scold anybody who said Notts Forest as they were a Forest fan. So I don't know. So we got there about 11, I think, and then we went to, where was it?
Brewhouse
Kitchen, which is great, I think, for either ground, really. If you're going to either, I'd say go to that.
I mean, it's right on the bridge that crosses the Trent. So, behind you is Notts County, and then over the road and across the river is not. He said Notts Forest again. Is Forest Ground. So and
it's also really if you're that way inclined, the cricket ground's there as well.
Yeah, it was. It's a nice little boozer. We had a cup of nuts.
Cup of nuts and some mild. I had some mild. And
I had a mild as well.
Yeah, it was.
I'm glad you enjoyed mild. I think that's one of the highlights. I do
enjoy mild. It's very much the out beer of the UK, I think, at this point. But we got headed towards the game. We ended up going to the wrong door first of all. So we went to the club shop because we had half hour, and then ended up going to the wrong. We went in to try and go into the Peter Taylor
stand, which is the other side, and then I had to walk all the way around. It's quite a long way around as well.
What was it? There was Cloughie's Cobs. I
forgot about Cloughie's Cobs.
Cloughie's Cobs, which was a sandwich shop that you could buy hot, roasted pork sandwich. They looked really good as well. So then you end up going alongside the Trent, heading into the ground. There, somebody handed me a chocolate dip thing.
I forgot about that.
like a chocolate biscuit dip thing. They was just giving them out outside the ground. So that did actually.
Thank you for your support, is what he said when he handed you, and you were like, okay.
I didn't even take it. He just put it in my hand.
I didn't get one.
He must have thought you was my carer or something like that.
No.
So that got an extra bonus point on the old food column. It's quite nice.
You can see so I've got the picture up here. So there's this is the flow of people that we're in. There's the big home end in front of us there, and then just off to the left, just out of shot, is the River Trent, because the ground is literally right on the river. It's so close to the river. Well, this end of it is anyway. Yeah,
definitely. And once you get up into that stand, it's one of the you end up going up into the sort of the bowels of the stadium, as I think we would call it. It's very it feels very 90, it's because it was refurbed for Euro 96, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
and I kind of imagine. I imagine San Siro is quite a lot of the stadiums from Italy are like that, of the same sort of era. I can imagine they all feel like that in Soars. It did feel quite continental walking into that for me. I could imagine that place doing that walk on a big European night.
Back in the day,
I could imagine sort of doing that walk. And the anticipation when you're walking up these stairs, getting to the top, and finally getting there, and it's a cracking view once you get up there as well.
Oh yeah, so I've got the view here. This is where we were sat. So we were sat right in the corner, in the Trent end. So you can kind of see something that I really like about this ground, and that's opposite there. The Bridgeford stand has this weird little thing where it's two layers. So at the bottom is where the away fans are, and then there's Forest fans along the top. And then the whole roof just kind of dips down.
Yeah.
And it goes down to a single, like a single tier, like right in the corner there. I don't know why, but that's it's just I like little quirky offbeat bits and pieces in grounds, and that did it for me.
I always think if your ground looks different at every single, if you can sit in all four corners or however many corners you got in your ground, and you get a different view for the rest of it. If it looks different everywhere you sit, that's always a good thing in my book for a ground.
Yeah, I've got the so that you can see it, but you can see where it drops down.
So yeah, that's kind of, I don't know what the name of the group is, but that's obviously where the loud Forest fans are, and they're pretty much about 30 meters away from the away fans. So I reckon that's if you sat around there, you would have been rocking, to be honest.
When times are trying, we keep the red flags flying, and they were trying. Well, the players weren't, but the times were certainly trying. I feel like we caught Forest at a bad time because they were bad.
It's the worst performance I've seen this season so far, and I'm including non-league teams in this as well. It's definitely the worst performance I've seen in terms of like expectations versus reality. I think.
They just capitulated, didn't they? As soon as Cardiff showed any kind of ambition, they just rolled over and played dead.
They make James Collins look dangerous. It was a bit of a disaster. But was it the following? Was it immediately after the game, or was it the game in the midweek that Houghton was sacked?
I think he might have had one more game and then he went. But
and they seem to have turned it round. So
Houghton ball was clearly not working.
Forest, no,
at the City ground. So they replaced him with. I'm drawing a complete blank here. They've replaced him anyway. So it clearly wasn't working.
He was replaced by Steve Cooper. There we go.
Steve Cooper. Okay,
I'd draw a blank with that as well.
Steve Cooper's a fair manager. He's obviously done a good job because they keep winning. Every time I'm looking at the results, I'm like, oh, Forest won again. And it's a surprise to me because the Forest that I watched were obviously going to go down.
They were on relegation footing.
Oh, yeah, they were bankers, weren't they? It's like them, Peterborough, who just aren't very good compared to the level that they're at. Don't want that to come off as a criticism of Peterborough because they're trying, but like there's a big step up there between League One and the Championship, and I don't think they're ready to make it.
I feel Peterborough and Norwich are very similar in the sense that they kind of play. If there was a League 0.5, Peterborough would be fine there.
Yeah, like Championship and a half.
They're kind of about their sort of level. So, but they're doing a great job. They're doing the best they can.
Yeah, but Forest were dreadful.
Yeah,
surprisingly dreadful. And Cardiff weren't even that good. They just took them apart. But it's just the amount of misery, like the Trent end. I can imagine that's like proper good football support when they're playing well.
Yeah.
But it was being like at a funeral. It was borderline depressing at times. When they scored the second goal, Cardiff, the Forest fans started leaving, and it's like it was like
65 minutes or something like that.
They started leaving. I'm like, I know you've not played very well, but 2-1's not
winnable.
Game over, is it?
It was a bit of a atmosphere was very subdued in that section, at least anyway. I heard one of the best grumbles for a long while on the way out, which was, I can't remember who was described as it, and actually probably don't want to describe it, it's a bit mean. One of the defenders was described as being so old he's got dentures, which was a unique one, but I did like the sort of the creativity of that one.
My lasting memory of Forest is sitting in the end towards like 90 minutes, and the grumbling around us had gotten increasingly like pronounced as they got towards the end of the game, and this one lad just lost it, and he just started screaming, "You twat! You fucking twat!" from a couple of rows behind us, and we're trying so hard not to laugh.
Yeah, I remember that now.
But you just have to laugh. I felt very bad for Forest fans after this game, but they've turned it around since then. So it'd be nice to go there again when they're actually playing well to see what it's like, the atmosphere. Because they're like 24,000 at that ground, and it didn't feel like 24,000.
The one good thing I would say about that game, I did finally get my pie for the season.
Yes.
I got a Balti pie, which was brilliant. It was everything I wished for. So that was really good. I like Forest. I think they've always been a good, like a proper club. They're people who enjoy good football because they've been spoilt for it really for a long while. But then when you can understand why they're completely dejected by watching Houghton ball because it was dreadful.
Yeah, it feels like Forest should be promo contenders based on just the size of the club, but they haven't really been there.
Not in Forest. There's no. They're a Premier League in terms of infrastructure for sure. They're a Premier League level team. There's no reason why they shouldn't be, but they just need to. Yeah, I think it's one of the best in the country, really. And I think this, for I can imagine on a proper big game, I reckon it's rocking in there, but it wasn't like that when we went.
No, it wasn't.
So yeah, that's one for the future, maybe.
Yeah, I would like to go back. So maybe one day. 2 days after that, because I was on a bit of a rampage in September, I went to go and watch Solihull Moors play at the Damson Parkway. I've ticked it off the list, like it's done. I would never go there again. I wouldn't recommend going there to anyone. It's terrible. They have massive parking problems. Like, I know we didn't book a parking spot at the ground, but they suggested that we go to a nearby car park, which was closed for COVID. And the car park next to it, which was massive and empty, was just for the hotel that was there. I think it was a Premier Inn. And I'm like, well, where do we park? So there's loads of car parks everywhere because it's right by the airport. So there's literally car park. There's more car park than there is anything else, but you can't park in any of them. So yeah, that sucked. And then when I actually got to the ground, it was not clean.
Yeah, I remember you saying about this.
I was not particularly pleased with the state of the toilets. You couldn't even wash your hands in there because there was no soap. And it was tiny. It's a tiny little box full of people in the middle of a pandemic. So, yeah, that was horrible. I hated it. And I had my view was obscured as well because there was a great big post in front of me. So I did kind of go into the game as it went on. So like I was sat next to Maria and we were just kind of leaning like round the post when the ball was going over halfway, and it kind of ended up being funny. But yeah, I was miserable for about 20 minutes. And I got even more pissed off when I went to see Gloucester City against Long Levens in the FA Cup. And I got pissed off there because when we turned up, we basically sat down because we had seated tickets, and people were standing right in front of me, so I can't see anything. So like a steward walks around. I'm like, on this to the steward, like, can you do something? And the steward goes, "Oh, come on, move along there, lads." So they move to the side and then move straight back again. So I couldn't see anything for half the game, and I ended up giving up because it was raining and their ground's crap. So even though I was under the thing, I was still getting rained on.
Was it not was it not like hatched off that you couldn't stand there, or were they just ignoring it?
They just ignored it.
Oh, okay.
And they were just standing there. They were just knobheads, basically. So
local hoodlums. Yeah,
it was a shame, really, because the game was kind of fun. It was Long Levens, who are basically in Gloucester, against Gloucester. So it was Long Levens were the home team in the draw, but they were playing it at Gloucester's ground.
Yeah.
And once I'd moved, because I basically moved because it started raining, so I just went and stood at the top of the stand. And from there, it was way better, like great view. But like they've got to do something. The steward in there was incompetent, and there were queues everywhere. Like, it's
Makes you
clear the
wonder if
ground
they
wasn't
were-
ready for that game.
Makes you wonder if they were Longlevin stewards because it was their home game.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it was weird because, like, Gloucester were at home, but they were playing in their away kit. So I got a bit confused as to who was who, but then I figured it out because Longlevins were clearly worse. They're about 5 divisions lower.
The Giants of Gloucester City.
You almost added to your ground tally the day after because you were due to go somewhere.
Well, yeah, it was amidst the globe. Well, not the global, the British fuel scandal, shortage, debacle. Many other words can be used to describe it. Basically, amidst the fuel shortage problem, I was going to go to I had my eye on 1 or 2 games that I was going to go to, but then I was like, don't really want to be using me petrol because I basically need it to go to work. And at that point, it was at this point where you couldn't get fuel at all. So I was like, I don't really want to drive. And I didn't really fancy anything on the train going into London. So I got the bus across town to the 61 FC, which is, I've mentioned Crawley Green. The 61 FC, the Crawley Green has Luton's second team. The 61 FC is probably Luton's third team. They play at a place called Kingsway, and which is they play in the Spartan South Midlands Division 1, which I think I've amped will play there, that sort of level. Got there for a 1 o'clock kickoff. No, for a 2 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday, which was great because it was a bit of an earlier kickoff. Got there about 1:45. That was a 3 o'clock kickoff. 1:45. Bit quiet. What's going on here? And I was like, because normally I was like, maybe they're just all in the dressing room, and I was like, but you'd think there would have been maybe a referee like checking the nets, or there would have been like a linesman walk around, or at least like a few bottles by the thing. No, nothing. Basically, turns out in the 20 in about 40 minutes it takes me to go from my house to the Kingsway Arena or sports ground. The game had been called off because the opponents didn't have enough petrol to get to the game. So that was my first aborted ground that I did this season. So I would have been on 26 this month, but unfortunately it was curtailed by the wider world. So, and I think there must have been plenty. Probably not the only person who's had that problem this past month, but it was very frustrating because I could have checked my phone at any point in the last 40 minutes and it would have just meant, I've just gone home. But anyway, I got a nice walk on that Saturday afternoon. So.
Nice stroll around scenic Luton.
Yeah, pretty much. I did get to see the Piri Piri Parmo, though, which was a thing that was offered in many of the takeaways, which I'd never seen before. But
Parmo's escaping Middlesbrough is like some kind of zombie outbreak waiting to happen.
But we've got the Luton variant, which is Piri Piri. So it's yeah, never mind.
It's the new pandemic.
But I can do that at any point, so because it's very close.
So that same week, I had a week off work, and I was going to go to a few grounds, and the number went down dramatically as the week approached because I was like, we kind of have to pick and choose here because I don't know how much petrol we can get. So we had enough petrol to go to Shrewsbury, which we did on the Tuesday, and Peterborough on the Wednesday. And I basically had plans for other things and had to stop all that. And then we went to Scotland at the weekend. That was difficult until we got further north, and it was really easy to get petrol, and it was just like the problem was all down south.
It was a completely London fabricated thing. So
yeah, I mean, it was around Birmingham. There was just no petrol to be had. It was horrible. But like the further north we went, the easier it got. So, so I went to Shrewsbury on the 28th of September. Saw them in League One. I can't remember who they played.
Meadow.
Oh, they played Wickham and somehow lost. And I now understand why Shrewsbury are in the relegation zone in League One. It's not because they're a bad team. It's that they're just fantastically unlucky. They completely played Wickham off the pitch and somehow lost 2-1.
That's a common thing for Shrewsbury. They're always a team that, they're always quite high scoring games as well. Shrewsbury.
Yeah, they were good. They were really good. And it didn't really pan out for them. Shrewsbury is a ground I really enjoy going to. It's a nice ground. It's fairly new. It's built like behind a Lidl, which is a bit weird. So they just walk past a Lidl and then the ground's behind it.
It's a UEFA standard ground, so you very often get the South Wales. You very often get the New Saints play there when they have the European qualifiers because it's European standard. So technically, they could play in the Champions League with that ground.
I don't think they're going to make it there with the weather they play, but
nice to dream there.
It was without a doubt, I think, the liveliest crowd I've had this season.
Oh, okay.
And
I've never thought that.
Yeah, and that's saying something. When I've had Cheltenham who were absolutely superb, and I had AFC Wimbledon who were brilliant. But yeah, Shrewsbury Town, their crowd are proper nuts. So they've got safe standing at the one end. So that one end, I was thinking, that's where all your Shrewsbury ultras are, because they're out there waving flags before the kickoff, and I'm like, oh yes, that's clearly the bit of the ground that's going to make noise. So they start making a load of noise, and then I'm like, hang on, there's a load of noise coming from behind, and I turn around, and up in the top, like left-hand corner part of the bit that I'm in, which is on the side, that's all full of people stood up, drums. Everything's on the go, and like they're even louder than the guys in the end. So there's two huge groups of supporters that are just properly going for it, and they didn't stop all game. They were well loud, and I think that it is the rowdiest crowd I've experienced. So that was a surprise. It's a really good atmosphere at Shrewsbury.
Yeah, I wouldn't have immediately said, "Oh yes, Shrewsbury." There, notoriously. Not immediately my thoughts, but
no, it's great. And then I went to Peterborough the day after, and Peterborough got done by like 20 Bournemouth fans. Come on, Peterborough, not any kind of an atmosphere, which is really disappointing because they've only just come up out of League One. I thought they'd be properly up for the Championship.
Just to go back to Shrewsbury briefly, I already said this to you, but in the past, but I have to mention it any time anyone mentions the Shrewsbury Town Stadium. But when I did my geography GCSEs back in 2010, our special case study question that we had to do is we had to pick a location for Shrewsbury Town's football stadium, and that was the one we picked. That was the one I picked as well. So I always have to mention that because I'm a town planner, you see. Sorry. Back to Peterborough.
Back to Peterborough. Well, I'm pretty much done with Peterborough. It was a goalless draw. Peterborough must be really thankful that Dominic Solanke can't shoot straight. And Bournemouth are top of the Championship at the moment. I cannot see why. They were not good. So I'm kind of surprised that they're top. I don't think it'll last, to be honest with you.
I think they've ground out quite a few 1-0s. It's.
I mean, they should have beaten Peterborough, and they didn't.
It's been a very open season this year in the Championship. I think it's been a very good season, actually. Kind of top to bottom.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. The Championship's pretty open. I've seen quite a few teams in the Championship, and I couldn't pick out of the teams that I've seen who the best one is. There's just a lot of competitive sides in there. So
it's not Forest and it's not Peterborough.
It could be Forest. They've completely turned it around, haven't they?
Yeah.
And I've got one more that I've got to talk about before we head off. So I went to Scotland on the 2nd of October and went to watch Dundee United Football Club playing at Tannadice Park. If you've seen Danny Dyer going, I can't get me nut around it. The Dundee United and Dundee, the grounds are right next to each other. Like they are so close together that when I was sat in Tannadice, I could see Dens Park. I could see it over the stand. Like, it's right there. It's right next to it. It could be closer, but not by much. Like if it was any closer, it would be touching.
Yeah, so I suppose we did the two closest league-ish level ones in England, and obviously you did the two closest in Scotland. With Dundee.
Yeah. Notts County and Forest used to be like the two closest league teams, but they're not anymore because Notts County on in the league. So I'm pretty sure it's Liverpool and Everton now.
Yeah,
but yeah, we went from one to the
other. And obviously that was with Eddie.
Oh yeah, me and Eddie. Yeah, so Eddie's a Dundee United supporter. He's from Dundee. So we went to. It was my birthday, so we went to Anstruther. Got some award-winning fish and chips right on the coast. Had a look around St Andrews, and then went to Dundee, and it rained the whole time because I was in Scotland. It just rained.
Of course, I would have liked to have come out for that, but I was doing something else. I can't remember what I was doing, but would have loved to have come out for that. It looked like a great weekend.
Yeah, I had fun, but that's the last time I went to a game, so that was like 3 weeks ago, and I've had a cold. So which is honestly having a cold during the COVID pandemic is just so annoying because I'm coughing,
and people are
looking at me like, no, it's a cold. I'm fine.
It's a cold. That's what happens. You would never have given it thought 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I did one more game, and I'm not going to dwell on it because it's probably the most boring takes of all. I did a game last week. I did England versus Hungary at Wembley Stadium. Wembley Stadium, if you've been there, you know what it's like. If you've seen it on telly, you probably can have a good guess of what it's like. It's pretty boring. Not my favourite ground in the world. It's aged terribly. It feels like a game. It feels like a ground from the mid-2000s. The acoustics are pretty poor. I did get to see the Hungary lads all have a fight. That was kind of fun. I sort of watched that from afar. I was 3 rows from the very, very back, so I needed an oxygen mask once I was sat up the top.
Did they give you those glasses that you get at the opera?
No, they didn't, because England fans would throw them at people.
Of course they would.
I
never want to go to an England game.
I've been to 2 England games at the new Wembley. The thing which is kind of very frustrating is a lot of people who go to them games aren't football fans. They're people who are going out for the day. Or they are football fans, but they're kind of like, oh, let's go and watch England. So there's a lot of families. Everybody turns up 10 minutes late. And then 5 minutes before the first half ends, they go to the toilet and they go to the bar. Then after that, they don't come in for another 10 minutes after the second half begins. So you're just forever waiting for people in the bloody queue, in the aisles. I hate it. Yeah, and also for most of the half, you got kids throwing paper aeroplanes off the top. Yeah,
sounds delightful.
Yeah, it's not my favourite ground in the world. I'll be that honest, but I do quite like going to England games because for some reason I like watching England football still. Yeah, there was an interesting tifo sort of thing during the national anthem. They sort of, one of the stands lifted up all these white and red cards and it made the St George's Cross, but that was about it. But it was an England game that I probably would have gone for a bath at half time and not watched the second half if it was on telly.
I didn't watch it at all. I didn't even watch it on TV.
Yeah, but I'm a masochist who watches all the qualifiers and all the friendlies, and I need to find something else to do.
Yeah, I stopped supporting England years ago, and I feel really good about it.
Yeah, it's like watching a lot of other people have. There's another habit a lot of other people have kicked in the last couple of years for the hobby that you used to have, and I think I probably need to do the same for England.
Yeah, spin it off. Okay, so that brings us up to speed. That puts me on 31 grounds. That puts Mike on 25.
That was about 10 or so grounds. On the leaderboard wise, you're well out in front for the year. I'm in third. Liam, our good friend of the show, is in second. He briefly went to Liechtenstein in Switzerland, so he's got the long distance traveller.
I'm impressed by that.
Yeah. Have you got anything planned for?
I just put up my map. So this little anomaly up here is Dundee United. This little fella. So it's considering what it looked like at the start of the season, it's looking a lot busier now.
Yeah.
So at the start of the season, I basically had Wickham down here. I got the Liverpool grounds because I've been to both of them, and Wolves and Bromsgrove.
Yeah.
And that was about it. So I like that I've added in these little grounds over it. I've got Peterborough, got Forest, Cardiff. So down there, Gloucester. There's a lot down Wadden Road, and up here, Dundee United. So it's been Vale Park. It's been a fun journey so far. I've been to a lot of places that I didn't expect that I'd go to this year. So it's been good.
It's been nice to get out of the house and give back. Yeah. I've got a trip not next week, the week after. I'll be off to Berlin, so I'm hoping to get a lot of grounds. There's at least 2 or 3 I'm probably going to try and do. I'm hopefully going to go to Union versus Bayern, but I don't think I'll be able to. But I've got a few backup options for that. But yeah, fingers crossed I can get a few in while I'm there. And that's. I'm going to hopefully get a few more in Germany. So to go along with my Düsseldorf one, that's my exciting one. Which will obviously.
I'm going to Charlton.
That's still exciting.
I am excited, to be honest, because it has a really good reputation as a ground, and that they've got a good reputation as fans. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
It's one that I've not done somehow. So
yeah, I think you probably should do. So I'm going with Welshie again. So we're going to get a ground in there. The big one, November the 15th. Put it in your diaries. Redditch United versus Bromsgrove Sporting. How this isn't on Boxing Day, I don't know, but I've never been to Redditch's ground because I was worried about picking something up. So we'll make the trek across and stand in the away end. It's going to be fun times.
So you're going to be in the Bromsgrove end?
I'm going to be Bromsgrove, yeah. Supporting the Sporting.
Maybe they'll be playing in the proper colours as well.
They will be playing in the proper colours because all the other teams play in red. As I've had this rant before, so let's not repeat this. And if anybody wants to invite me to a game on the 20th of November, I am free. So 20th of November, that's one for the.
Also me, invite me.
You're in Germany.
No, not on the 20th of November.
Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong month. Yeah. Okay. Feel free to smash like down the bottom there. Hit that subscribe button and become a part of the Arn and Eddie network. I'm aware that I haven't done anything for a couple of weeks, but that's because I've had a cold and I couldn't talk properly with that. So we're back. So thanks for watching. And join us next time where Mike's going to talk about Germany and I'm going to talk about Charlton.
Yay!
Oh.
Bye.